Imagine standing in a room carved from stone 5,000 years ago. The only sound is your breath, until you hear a whisper that no one else hears. Not from the room, not from the wind, but from the stone itself. This isn't a myth. It happened. And it was never supposed to be found again. What if I told you there's an altar buried beneath Malta that was designed not for worship, but for communication? And the question is, with what? In 1902, a farmer in Malta accidentally uncovered a large underground chamber while digging for water. At first, it looked like just another ruin. But as archaeologists investigated, they realized this was something far older and stranger than anything they'd catalogued. They called it the Hal Saflieni Hypogeum, a vast subterranean complex believed to date back to 4000 BC. Aye, but one room stood out. A perfectly circular chamber with acoustics so strange, scientists say a voice inside it vibrates your bones, not just your ears. In the center of that chamber was a single stone, a carved altar, and according to reports never published officially, the stone sometimes responded. Over the next decade, researchers came and went. Some refused to speak about what they saw. But in 1935, an Italian archaeologist named Dr. Matteo Ferrani began cataloging strange behavior among the excavation team. Whispers, dreams, obsessions. He claimed one man disappeared inside a wall. Ferrani's private journal, only recovered in 1978, described what he believed was an ancient auditory ritual, not a prayer but a summoning. He wrote, "This is no altar to the gods. This is a telephone for what lies beneath." Shortly after his final entry, Ferrani himself vanished. His body was never recovered. In the 1990s, acoustic engineers from Switzerland were allowed to study the room. They discovered something terrifying. A person speaking at 110 Hz in the chamber, exactly the tone of a male human voice, can trigger a harmonic resonance in the skull. In other words, the right voice in the right room can cause hallucinations. But here's where it gets worse. A private report leaked in 2004 said they recorded responses in those frequencies when no one was speaking. Voices that did not match any human tone. Since then, the hypogeum has been closed to the public for preservation. Only a handful of tourists are allowed each year, never alone, never for more than 10 minutes in the oracle room. But according to one tourist blog from 2011, now deleted, a woman claimed she heard a child humming behind the altar. There were no children in the chamber. Her photo, shared briefly before the account vanished, showed faint lines of red on the altar stone as if something had bled recently. And here's the part no one can explain. Several YouTube creators who tried to post investigations of the site had their audio corrupted only during the parts when they mentioned the altar. One creator claims their microphone recorded a voice saying, "Listen. You remember the Swiss engineers who tested the acoustics in the oracle room? What most people don't know is there was a seventh tone. 6 tones were publicly acknowledged harmless sound frequencies that produced strange but predictable echo effects, but the 7th never made it to the report because they were told not to include it. Let me explain. The frequency that shouldn't exist. During the final hour of testing in 2011, the engineers led by Dr. Hans Keller decided to map a full resonance profile of the chamber using automated wave pulses. They programmed the equipment to sweep from 90 Hz to 150 Hz in tight increments. Everything was going fine until they reached 117 Hz. That frequency, just 7 Hz above the core resonance, caused the room's stone walls to vibrate in a non-echoing loop. Let that sink in. Sound in a stone chamber stopped echoing. Instead of bouncing, the sound seemed to disappear, as if swallowed. The recording equipment captured only 1 second of data before cutting out entirely. Every microphone failed simultaneously. And then, a whisper. One of the engineers, Lisa Gruter, later testified in a closed session. A transcript leaked in 2018. We heard it, all of us, not from a speaker, not from the air, but from inside us. A voice said, "You came back." The sound that bleeds. Gruter collapsed minutes later. She was rushed to a hospital with hemorrhaging in her right ear and temporary aphasia, the inability to speak or understand language. Doctors thought it was a stroke. But CAT scans revealed something else. Her Broca's area, the part of the brain responsible for producing speech, showed signs of acoustic trauma. Let me repeat that. Her brain had been physically damaged by a sound that technically never happened. She later described dreams in which she walked down a hallway made of red stone where each footstep echoed with her own name spoken backward. In one of her nightmares, she saw the altar again, but it was breathing. A secret research group. A FOIA request filed in 2021 accidentally revealed that a private research group codename Archaic Tone received partial access to the Hypogeum in 2015 under a cultural restoration initiative, but their team wasn't composed of archaeologists. It included 2 acoustic physicists, a neurolinguist, a military signal analyst, and a psychologist specialized in mass hallucination events. What were they looking for? According to a document labeled Vocal Host Retainment Hypothesis, they believed that the Hypogeum's oracle room may have once been used to contain not a person, but a consciousness. Something not biological, not divine, but resonant. An intelligence that communicated purely through tone, not words. The lost video file. In a digital leak from 2022, a 43-second video appeared briefly on a private data dump site. It was labeled test_117HEs_room2_clear.mkv and allegedly taken by a junior technician during a scan of the Hypogeum's second level. The footage shows an empty chamber. No people. Just the altar. A low hum builds in the background. At timestamp 019, the walls begin to breathe, expanding subtly as if made of flesh. The sound deepens. At 033, a human figure appears for 1 frame only, standing in the altar. Not behind, not beside, in. The last frame shows a spiral burned into the lens. The original file was removed within hours. Every download was remotely wiped, but screenshots exist. Some call it a hoax. Others say it's the only real footage of the entity still trapped below. The monks who sealed it, according to a near-forgotten 14th century monastic text titled Chronicle of the Dust and Hollow. A group of monks fleeing the Black Death landed in Malta in 1349 and discovered the Hypogeum by accident. One passage reads, "We found the chamber that speaks, a mouth without flesh, a voice without end. One of us listened. He did not stop screaming for 7 days. They believed the structure was not just cursed, but unfinished. That the spiral was meant to be a kind of lock, and that someone or something had failed to close it completely. They called it the Unbound Prayer. The text ends with this line, 'We sealed it with blood and stone. May no one listen again.' Modern silence. In 2020, Malta's Heritage Authority quietly installed new structural supports throughout the Hypogeum. No media was allowed inside, no photos leaked. But according to a guide who later quit his job, something strange happened after the new supports were placed. Tourists began reporting lost time. One man exited the tour thinking it had lasted 15 minutes. It had been 90. A woman claimed she heard her mother's voice. Her mother had been dead for years. And one child asked, "Why is the man in the floor whispering?" The memory that isn't yours. Dr. Elisa Myra, a cognitive psychologist, once visited the hypogeum as part of a neurocognition study in 2019. She wrote afterward in a private forum, "After 12 minutes in the oracle room, I experienced a flash memory of an event that never happened to me. I was a man. I was kneeling. I was chanting in a tongue I did not recognize in front of the altar. I wasn't watching it. I was doing it. But I have never been to Malta before that week." She now believes the oracle room is not just acoustically resonant. It may be mnemonically resonant, capable of recording and imprinting memories like a stone phonograph, but not your own, someone else's, or something's. Final thought for the viewer. If a sound exists that can burn a symbol into your mind, if a whisper can survive 6,000 years, if a stone can remember you, what else might be down there? And more importantly, who is still listening? They say silence is the absence of sound, but in the hypogeum, silence is the presence of something else. The accidental recording. In 2021, a Polish tourist named Marek K. visited the hypogeum with a group tour. He carried a compact audio recorder in his jacket just to capture ambient sound. Nothing special. But when he played it back that evening in his hotel room, the recording didn't start with footsteps or whispers. It started with chanting. Low, repetitive, circular. Not Latin, not Greek, not Arabic. He posted a clip online. Audio engineers filtered it. What they found was chilling. Under the chant, there was a second layer of audio, something like a child's voice, speaking in perfect English. "We sang them here, but they never left." The post vanished in 48 hours. His YouTube channel was suspended. No backups exist. But one user saved the audio. The waveform analysis showed something impossible. At second 042, the frequencies briefly aligned into a visual shape, a spiral. Hidden rooms, strange air. Officially, the hypogeum has 3 levels, but early blueprints from the 1900s mention level 4, a sealed passage marked only as air room. It was dismissed as a mistake. Until 2016. During sonar scanning for structural integrity, a subterranean void was detected beneath level 3, perfectly circular, 2.7 meters wide. The reading was clear, but no access point exists. The void is airtight, no airflow. And yet, it's been filled with something. Low-frequency microphones lowered near the floor of level 3 caught a pulse. Not random. It repeats every 17 minutes, just like a breath. Memory stone theory. There's a growing belief among fringe researchers that the hypogeum is not a tomb, but a memory machine. Not to store data, to store souls. Limestone, under the right conditions, can record vibration like a crude hard drive. Add moisture, resonance, and time, and it becomes a passive playback device. But what if someone figured this out thousands of years ago? What if they didn't just record sound? What if they recorded selves? And what if something went wrong? Government silence. In 2023, the Maltese government suddenly reduced hypogeum visitor slots by 60%. No explanation. Just structural concerns. But insiders claim something else. A tour group reported a malfunction in the oracle room. The sound demo was played. A child in the group began screaming and collapsed. Paramedics couldn't calm her. She kept repeating, "He's not gone. He's just quiet now." She was 7. She'd never heard of the Oracle Room before that day. A question for the viewer. If a place can listen, if a place can remember, what happens when it starts to speak back? And more importantly, what are you letting in when you listen to it? He saw through the earth, and now the earth sees through us. Inscription fragment found beneath the Oracle Room, 1923. The Forgotten Descent. Only once in 1902 did workers attempt to dig further below level 3. They opened a slit beneath a floor panel. The workers reported sudden nausea, hallucinations of faces in the rock. One man, Luca Farrugia, was hospitalized for a seizure and never spoke again. His last words were, "I heard a man calling my name, but he was inside my head." No further excavation was attempted. The passage was sealed with reinforced concrete. The blueprints of this dig classified, the diary of the lead excavator, burned in 1931. But a fragment survived. It simply read, "The saint has no eyes, because he gave them to the dark." Leaked footage. The eyes returned. In 2015, a low-res video was uploaded for 6 hours on an obscure forum. It showed a man, face covered, exploring an unauthorized part of the Hypogeum at night. He enters a narrow, unknown corridor. At the far end, a wall of skulls, embedded in stone, not buried, but placed. Each had both eye sockets filled with polished stone spheres. He whispers, "These aren't burial stones, they're watching stones." The video abruptly ends. It was taken down. IP traced to a university in Germany. 1 week later, an archaeology professor from that university, Dr. Emil Becker, went missing. His last known email was sent at 3:44 a.m. It simply read, "I think it's still awake." The hypothesis: Saint Eye were never eyes. Newer theories suggest the saint eyes weren't eyes at all, but tools. Not for looking out, but for looking in. Historians now wonder, were these eyeballs installed in statues and bodies to connect to something, a deeper layer, a central mind? The oracle chambers across the Mediterranean in Malta, Greece, southern Turkey all share this. Underground, sound-reflective limestone, and traces of hematite, a mineral known to react to magnetism. Could these have been nodes? And if so, who or what were they communicating with? The Boy with No Eyes, 2024 incident. Just last year, in 2024, a tourist family visiting the Hypogeum reported a chilling event. Their 9-year-old son wandered briefly during the tour, only for 2 minutes. They found him near the forbidden corridor, staring at the wall, eyes wide open but not seeing. When they called his name, he replied in fluent Maltese. "The boy is from Canada. He's never studied the language." He said, "He can see again. He's in the stones. He remembers now." Later that day, he drew a spiral 13 concentric rings, exactly matching the Oracle Room's wall carvings. The final theory: the Saint Eyes, the Hypogeum, the hum, the child's voice, the spirals, all of them may be part of an ancient neural web long forgotten. A mind buried in stone. And maybe, just maybe, the ancient people didn't worship gods. Maybe they built one. Or worse, maybe they found one. And it's been sleeping. Until now. You've heard the stories. You've seen the patterns. So now ask yourself, if this thing, this buried consciousness, has been awake longer than history, what does it want to remember? And more importantly, what does it want us to forget?